What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. It is Marketing Monday with your boy, Pat Hilton and Zach Hoffman. We're live all over the world. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing well, man. Definitely all is great, man. It's we're here on President's Day.
It is President's Day today. I was texting you earlier. It's like my kids never go to school, I feel like. And then, I have to take them to an event with me this weekend just because it's going to be fun because they like Austin, Texas. There's this play museum they like to go to. And so Now they don't have to go Thursday or Friday either, or Thursday's a half day or whatever. So, hey, you know what? There is something to be said for taking your kids into an environment that they can learn from people that most people don't even have access to. And so I always make sure that if I can swing it, I do, because a lot of times I have to fly out of town for events. And so I'm just unable to take the family because it's just too much. But if it's local to Austin or Dallas, that makes it a whole lot easier. And I think it's good for the kids to meet people and see what they're doing. And that's all part of marketing, We want our families to be involved with what we're doing. That's the cool thing about the internet. So here we are. It is Marketing Monday. We're live. We're going at it. Zach Hoffman joining me. And man, it's been a crazy few weeks. 2025 is underway, and we've been really, really consistent with hitting these Mondays, and I think it's really important. And we're getting a lot more people commenting, asking us questions, and there's so much to cover this week, so let's jump right into it. So Zach pulled a couple topics, and as we've witnessed with this new presidential administration, some people love it, some people hate it. That's always how it's going to go. But man, the production, like you said, on their social media, man, who's making these videos? They're crazy.
I think it's Jerry Bruckheimer, dude. I think they have some high-level Hollywood production going into it.
Is that what it is?
No, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who it is, though, because they will reveal who's producing all these pieces, I assume, at some point. Mm-hmm. But the level of production coming out of the White House, they've wasted no time with basically anything and everything that they've done this far. But if you look at the production that they're putting into social media in general, the way that they're communicating to the public on a national as well as a global scale, they're leaving no stone unturned, and they're definitely amping it up in a big way. And we're only a month and a half in. I think they're just going to set a whole new precedence for how the White House and the U.S. government treats social media go forward. And that's going to impact how we all operate as business owners and just, everything in general.
We've never seen this level of transparency before from the executive level in government. I mean, Joe Biden ran from questions for 4 straight years. If people don't like me saying that, it too bad, because the guy literally avoided questions and walked out of the press room every single day. Now, he can do whatever he wants. And I guess if you really want to do the math, I guess it's not really necessarily his job to answer questions. I guess they have a press secretary for that. So I could take both sides of that, right? But at the same time, we're seeing these guys posting government waste. This USAID thing is on the chopping block, all these different things. And I find it fascinating that people are really mad at Elon Musk when it's his job to look at what the spending is. What do you think about all that? Do you think that, this goes right into marketing, because people either love it or they hate it, but everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go political on that.
I know. From the marketing perspective,
there's definitely a fine line that people are dancing, and there's the reason the government does employ almost half of the population in the U.S. So you don't necessarily want massive layoffs of employees from the public sector. We all can cry about whatever. The reality is we live in the best country in the world, and it comes at a cost, and that's called taxes. And then they employ a bunch of people, and they have their agenda as to how we operate. So I don't have anything negative to say about that.
Right.
I don't even think that when you're looking at the social media spotlight, like we talked about Twitter and X offline real quick. Essentially that's the social media wasteland. And
I can't stand X. And I have no problem saying that. I go and we stream our stuff. And so I'll go and
Yeah.
try and look and see who watched it. And I go onto that app and I'm like you said, it's like a wasteland. I'm like, what is going on here? Nothing I post gets any engagement. I have no idea how anyone drives any traffic on that platform. I don't know.
I mean, there's silos of conversations happening. I mean, related to like news, there's obviously crypto and
Yeah.
everything. NFTs goes out viral on there. But essentially, I mean, look, there's when we're talking social media production, though, yeah, I'm talking like the videos, the shorts, the reels
Right.
that are coming from the White House handles.
All right. Well,
Essentially,
let's
that
pull them up. Let's pull them up.
yeah,
So Zach sent me some links here that I'm going to pull up. I've got it all here. So we got the Daytona 500 one, right? So this
yeah.
is
So we have
Mr.
what's
Trump.
that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have him, you could make that a little bit bigger, but definitely, taking the beast to essentially the track. So if you click into that video, it's a whole production piece of him essentially at the Daytona 500. Very well produced. It's, the
This
level of
is
cameras that they're using are definitely high level. In order to get that level of production, it wasn't just, somebody all of a sudden deciding. If you go back, yep, that video there in the middle. If it wasn't somebody just like deciding to, randomly post that short. It's very chosen. I think that
mm-hmm.
video is up to about 3.5 million plus views and getting a lot of engagement along the way. And
Yeah,
then if you go over
absolutely.
to what's that?
Trying to get it to show me on the desktop version how many likes or shares it has, but it's a little difficult. Some of this is built for mobile. Let's pull up another one. Air Force
Well, if
One
you go to the next
arrival.
one, it's the
Here we
arrival,
go.
but let's see.
The desktop version of Instagram sucks. It's built for mobile.
They know where their users are.
Yeah, no, it's not, don't they? Where was? See, now that one's only. Oh, here it is. POTUS has arrived. This makes it a little bigger. Look at that. This was all planned, right? I mean, this is a planned advertisement. He's marketing himself. And if you
For
look at the
sure.
bottom corner, it says they said video by X at Bleacher Brothers or whoever. So they actually credited the person that filmed this, then used it on the White House and POTUS pages. This is why user generated content is so important. You hear the gurus say you need some UGC. UGC, that means user generated content. That means Bleacher Brothers or Pat Hilton or Zach Hoffman, you as a user should be posting content because you never know who could take it. You could be featured on the White House page. This just proves it. So the bottom right corner, you can clearly see that that person's credited for filming this video. And boy, what a great shot. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and if they didn't catch it, I assure you there would have been a number of other people catching that as well. And when you hop into, even go back to the links there before you go. Well, I mean, look at this White House website.
Okay.
I've been to the White House website through a number of administrations. Never has it really like featured a president as though he's, the main character in the
Right.
White House, but he is essentially, right? Then you have his administration right below it. You have a newsletter opt-in, and then you get into the White House, Camp David, and Air Force One, which are all features of, being the president, definitely things access to. So they're really treating this as, a real operation. It's not just, being looked at as, I guess to what you were saying with, what's going on at Doge, when you're looking at the aspects of the government and the ways to make it more valuable or more efficient. I mean, essentially, this layout, this design of the White House website does really portray a story, and it does help them, convert the audience, to be, more effective in a lot of ways, to get their message across. So they're using every aspect of digital communication funnels to really amplify what they're stressing,
Yeah.
what they're communicating.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What else
If
we
you go,
got on here?
yeah, if you go back to that email there, you also have Marco Rubio's tour in Israel. Essentially, if you look at this piece as well, This video here, essentially, it's very well produced. This isn't a clip from CNN or Fox
No.
News, essentially, or the AP. Yeah, this is a social media cameraman essentially following Rubio around, getting specific shots to build up this reel, to build up this footage.
Hmm.
Essentially, they're trying to communicate their, pro-Israel stance, and what Israel does for the region, and essentially a 1 minute piece. The piece is very well produced. And yeah, it just goes to show you just the level of production that we're seeing, like I said, coming out of the White House,
Oh, look at
coming from
that.
the.
They even have a like a call to action at the end. Look at that.
Oh yeah, you have all the handles. It's interesting too. The White House is reposting a lot of Army tweets, right, or
Hmm.
Army content at the moment. The Army has a lot of well-produced, content as well. Definitely, we can dig into the different branches of the military to see how they're utilizing it as a recruiting platform, as well as just a platform in general to communicate messages. But once again, going to social media to tell your side of the story, no filters. They control the dialogue.
Yep.
It's a very powerful path into the influence that they're trying to reach. So whether you hate it or love it, they are controlling the message that's coming out of the White House. Never has it been done before at this level where they are actually producing pieces to utilize their social media channels to tell their side of the story.
Well, and the cool thing about the way that they're doing it is social media instantly hits the audience, which means that
Correct.
social media is the broadcasting network. So X is the broadcasting network. They don't need Fox. They don't need CNN. They don't need MSNBC. We are over the next 4 years going to see systematically the destruction of news media. Nobody watches it anymore. There was a ratings thing that somebody did. I'm trying to think of who it was, but metrics, statistics, and ratings that CNN and Fox both had like a couple 100,000 people watching their primetime stuff. You posted a video on X and it gets 12 million views. 12 million views. There is no reason for anyone to even turn on the television to consume that media anymore because it's all right on their phone. And number two, they're not consuming that media anymore. That
Well,
that was the big sway that we saw in November.
Well, yeah, and we've also looked at specific influencers that have big roles on television, in particular the late night TV shows, Jimmy Fallon, as to like how he'll produce a show, but most of the show is created to create YouTube shorts,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, essentially like aspects of the handle. And it gets way more viewers and way more engagement on those mediums than it does on the actual live performance or the live show itself. We're seeing, right before our eyes, it's a major transition of how, consumption is being done. The traditional platforms do still have their,
Yeah, they still got pull,
yeah.
but they're losing their grip. And they have been losing their grip now since Donald Trump came into the forefront because Donald Trump goes directly to his audience.
Well, and yeah, so you have the White House and what they're doing essentially. And then even this past weekend, you had the NBA All-Star game, right? And honestly, I didn't even know it was happening.
I had no idea
And,
till you just mentioned it. I
and
haven't
the
watched an
only reason
NBA
that
game in 15 years.
oh, the only reason I had an idea that it was happening was the head creator from Instagram was posting about it because Meta has an interest in NBA and I think that with the Oculus they're doing like live games and some 3D
Nice.
transitions there. But essentially they're saying that the viewers were so disinclined from actually what was going on. They had Mr. Beast in the production. They say that Mr. Beast probably gained more followers than the NBA engaged through that whole performance by giving away money to somebody in the crowd. But essentially, they said it was an epic fail. So, the NBA continues to dwindle on viewership, continues to look for a savior because there's no Michael Jordan. So it's,
Well,
they got
and
to get it back.
Dude, and like hardcore basketball fans too. Like I just don't even understand how they can sit through it anymore. Back in the day, growing up, the Pistons versus the Bulls, the late great Celtics that I grew up watching, it was a way more physical sport than it is now.
Oh,
And same thing with football. I mean, you used to see people taking each other's heads off, even with the shoulder, nothing illegal, and anything like that is now called a penalty.
well, football, I think, saved face with the Eagles really, taking down the Super Bowl and essentially, calling the game relatively fair and evenly. But at the same time, hey, look, football is definitely still a very physical sport. The NBA, there's no inside game left, right? Like the statistics
None.
are totally weighing towards 3-point shots, and the guys like won't even go into the lane. I don't know why. They might not want to break a nail or whatever it may
I don't
be.
know.
But there's no inside game left in the NBA at this stage. There's not a player that could dunk or do anything that, really, it gets the fans excited. I mean, nobody wants to go watch a 3-point shootout fest. It's not that inclining. It's just not that desirable of a game to watch. It's not that fun. Even the slam dunk contest, like I saw some clips from it and I was just like, who wants to watch grown men jump over other grown men's heads? Like there's got to be a better way to portray slam dunk action or like get some cool slam dunks going
Right.
than the way that they were trying to
Well,
create obstacles. It made
and
no
it,
sense.
it even goes back to like the Super Bowl halftime show. I didn't think it was a bad show. I thought Kendrick Lamar was like decent, but people are acting like it was like the greatest performance of all time. Number one, he did get the most viewers in Super Bowl history, but it was only by like 100,000 more than Michael Jackson. And when Michael Jackson did the show, there was no social media. There was no this, no that, no YouTube, no Facebook, no nothing. And the whole world stopped to watch Michael Jackson that day. That's not what happened this year. And again, dude, the guy's great rapper. Kendrick Lamar's great rapper. He's the man of the year in the music world. And so he got the push, but at the same time, to sit around and pretend that this was some kind of like mind-numbing performance, it's just not accurate.
Well, no, as like forget that. As a VP of marketing or CMO, to sit there in your suite in your office and totally pretend that social media is not happening and that you could just blow a budget on a Super Bowl ad or like blow a budget on like NFL advertising or NBA advertising and it fits snuff is a total joke. Like I think the White House is setting the precedence
Yep.
when it comes to how budgets have to be reshuffled and re-emphasized. Essentially, where they're taking their message to, the level of production that they're putting into their messaging and their creative is going to go a long way in influencing the people over the next 4 years. And that's essentially what their job is. And as a marketer, your job is to influence people to work with the organization or to shop with the organization that you empower. There have been numerous big box stores failing over the past 5 to 10 years, and it's unprecedented that they fail. They have the best distribution mechanisms. They have the ability to bring people into stores, but they're basically skeletoning out their infrastructure and not pulling people in. They're not putting on a great show. Essentially, you put on a great show, people will show up. That's not even a question.
Well, yeah, and dude, that's what I love that you said that because, dude, the guy did put on a good show, but that's just not enough anymore. I think there's got to be follow up. There's got to be this. There's got to be the nurturing. How many touches does it take to get a conversion? We've had that. How many conferences have we been through where they go through the touch cycle? It could take 7 to 10 touches to even get someone to convert, to even listen to your music or click on your podcast on Spotify or whatever. Yeah. I think that people underestimate the amount of work that it takes to convert. And so they do a little bit of work and they don't get any conversions and they just quit. Biggest mistake that you can make is to base every single thing that you do off of conversion instead of getting good. Right? Like,
oh, sure.
Apple has always focused on having good stuff.
Their production is great, but it does take a fine balance of
it does.
what you call organic content,
Yep.
what you're creating, and then like paid ads and promotions to like, take that viewership to the next
Right.
level,
How am I
hit
boosting
it all.
this? Like you said, they filmed in a certain way to get certain clips so that they could take that clip and boost it and drive for a sale. These people, they know what they're doing now. And I think that that's why broadcasts like this are going to continue to become more and more and more popular because, listen, a lot of people that we do business with, I'm sure you're the same way, they don't have a whole bunch of time to just sit around and film content all day. And so we have to get stuff on the fly. We have to do interviews like this or live streams or live trainings or live webinars. We have to get it from them on the stage and we have to chop it up and redistribute it and repurpose it and remix it. And having that daily output, it says something about you. And when you compare it to someone that doesn't, you look more disciplined, more accountable, and more trustworthy and confident than your competitor when you're posting every single day on social media. The White House gets this. And so that White House production is like the corporate version of the personal brand where, Mr. Trump is probably going to be spouting off crazy stuff, but that's separate from the White House. Just like Exults is a little bit more separate from Zach Hoffman's personal brand, but they commingle.
Even if you look though from the first administration, like Trump's first 4 years in office,
Yep.
which was essentially like a shotgun approach to social media to where
Yep.
we are in the opening of this second run at the administration. And it is actually cool seeing the guy get a second try, see like if he evolves, how he changes. And it does seem that he's evolving and he is changing. He's not using it as like a shotgun, like kind of say what
Not
you
this
feel.
time.
Okay. It seems like there is somebody that actually does have his phone that says, "Hey, Mr. Trump, are you sure you want to post right now?" Or like, "Hey, we produced a piece. I suggest you use that piece instead," rather than going there and basically, putting his own like zingers out there.
Yeah.
It's well filtered. You could tell they're definitely analyzing their audience. They're looking at data. These him showing up at the Daytona 500, showing up at the Super Bowl, doing specific things, producing pieces that are highlighting aspects of those events, showing his badass plane, the badass car. Like it's not by coincidence that those are the production pieces that they're utilizing. He's barely even talking in the majority of these pieces.
Right.
Even when they welcomed the Prime Minister of India recently, it was, or the President of India, it was just like the level of production that went into that piece. And what's interesting about that piece where they, invite India to the White House is that piece is not only going to be, spread throughout the United States, that piece is also going to go viral on an international basis into India. So that's going to have far reach beyond just our soil. That 1 minute piece that they produced of him, of their leader visiting the White House. So, and that once again, that piece was not just like a fly by night. Somebody took their iPhone and just started shooting. That was numerous cameramen, numerous angles. Well produced, well put together. It's challenging to produce, a minute, minute and a half that tells a great story. So,
well, especially with that many different cuts. You looked at that Marco Rubio thing, like that was here, let me pull that up one more time because that was pretty darn good. The trip to Israel thing. Like this, dude, this is very well done. Very well edited. It's great storytelling. And if you look at the words on the screen, they took the audio from him speaking and added it as a voiceover with subtitles on the screen. This is exactly what I tell people to do. Talk to the camera, add the words, make it a story. And they did a really, really good job of that here. Like you said, it's even got the logo in the top right corner. This is a very sophisticated piece. This is not amateur hour. And so people need to understand this is not only how people communicate, but this is how you're going to have to compete with people in the global marketplace, because without these tools and without these platforms, you don't exist anymore. And by the way, to even prove it, we went and we tried to find social media versions of the Super Bowl ads. We couldn't even find some of these companies' pages. We couldn't even find some of these companies' ads last week. It was crazy.
Shame on the NFL. I mean, shame on the NFL. Shame on what was the Super Bowl aired on Fox or CBS? Like, shame on whoever aired the Super Bowl on behalf of their advertisers.
Yeah.
They should be kissing the toes of the marketers that paid them $4 million for 30 seconds. And they should sure as heck have a website, landing page, microsite where you could find every single Super Bowl ad to talk about the next day, good, bad, or indifferent. They should be highlighting those advertisers and bringing those commercials to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. They should be taking notes from the White House, a traditional environment, carrying it straight over into the digital environment. Love it or hate it, they're doing it. Yeah. And every single organization out there needs to be taking notes because they obviously have some leaders working on it. So it's very, very interesting to watch. Like I said, I think we're just at the beginning of what we're going to see produced out of there.
I think that they know, Donald Trump being the type of marketer that he is, he knows how to get eyeballs. And he's like, hey, listen, Rubio's going to have a guy with him that's going to produce stuff. I'm going to be at the Daytona. And so now they're everywhere with people following them around with either phones or cameras or whatever, and just putting together nice clips. And I thought that what they did with the audio voiceover there, the overdub thing, was nice because it adds to the storytelling.
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely adds to storytelling. It's definitely acknowledging the fact that, most marketers know that people don't necessarily always have the volume on when they're engaging with the content on site. So, it's very, critical that those shorts are caught and then amplified through specific messaging there. So,
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. What else we got? Was that all of them?
As we talk about social media production, I mean, look, there's so many layers to it. I know we've talked about it a few times, but just to amplify and really drill into like specific things to look for when you're producing your own social media content or even trying to optimize the content you have out there. You have to look at analyzing data. You have to understand who you're talking to, who's your audience, who's your avatar. And then when you're looking at production, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just, typically fly by night. You have potential locations, you have a team to follow you, you have the editing, and then you have the actual syndication of the material, getting out the content itself. All of these are definitely particular earmarked budgets that have to happen. But there's numerous layers that go into production that's beyond just, basically, I'd say point, click, and shoot. And I think those are all things that people need to really be considering as you're leveling up your social media production and just your digital game in general, that it's not just, just like a very minute, like funnel of just doing, small things. I mean, look, every small action is going to lead to a greater reaction. You just need to start those small actions. But at the same time, there is levels of production that are going into the content that you're seeing. Even Mr. Beast has come out and said that he really beats up the data from a perspective of even, the thumbnails that they choose are critical and different aspects of how they engage people in the content that they're creating.
Yeah, there's so many factors. And I think that one thing that I'm starting to notice is that, and I said this a little earlier, shooting videos like this, having conversations with people is becoming more and more and more popular. We're going to see a podcast boom over the next 4 years because with AI and all the robotics and all the automated stuff and automated captions and text and copywriting, it's going to become more and more and more robotic. And Neil Patel and NP Digital did a study on AI content, copywriting, whatever, video, everything versus human content. Human content performed better 96% of the time or something like that. Like it wasn't even close. And so these platforms know when you're using AI and they don't push it. So everyone needs to know that right off the bat. Human to human interaction is going to become more and more and more popular as the robots get more and more strong because that's what people want to consume. People want to feel that feeling, that emotion. They want to see you, hear you, feel you, believe you. And if they can't, They're going to go somewhere else where they can. This is why Joe Rogan's been so popular. There's so many shows out there with hosts that are becoming more and more and more popular, and it's because they're doing this all the time and having conversations. And so if you're not having conversations, or you're not filming your coaching calls or your consulting calls or your speeches or anything, and then chopping that up and getting that posted, I mean, you're losing tons of your digital footprint potential by giving that real estate away to somebody else.
Well, to build on that, it's also interesting to see those that have come from the traditional platform that it might have been, banned or canceled for whatever reason, utilizing like Tucker Carlson as an example. He has a whole new career, basically on the social media channels. And I don't think he's even lost much of the audience. He might even have a larger audience than the audience that he previously had. So, he has an afterlife where he is producing on his own time. He has the luxury to do it now. And he still has his audience, and it's through a different channel as to what they're doing. It's very interesting because social media allows you to just go direct to the audience that you're attempting to reach.
Yeah. Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, Zach Hoffman in the house, Pat Hilton. It's Marketing Monday, getting it done. What are the final thoughts here? What can we do to get people to take action this week, Zach?
I mean, start following some of the White House channels in particular. Start at the White House Gov, work your way down to the president of the U.S. handles, and start to study and watch what they're doing. And then also, when you're looking at your social media, look at production points that have to go into it. How you're going to produce that content, who's going to help you in editing and assisting in doing that, and then who's actually going to syndicate the content and then potentially promote the content that looks to be working. Really, put some strategy and structure to it and start to study, some of the leaders in the marketplace and try to emulate them.
Yeah, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Marketing Monday. Your boy Pat Hilton with Zach Hoffman. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And as always, we encourage you to get out there, make some moves, make some things happen, and bring your dreams to life. So, ladies and gentlemen, Social Authority, Pat Hilton, Zach Hoffman, Marketing Monday in the books. Go out there and have a great week, and we will see you on the next one.
See you soon.
Rock on.